Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Future Tech Chat. This one is a very relaxed style. We're just hanging out on a lazy Sunday. We'll be talking about some tech news. We'll be going over our predictions from last week from Google I/O. And we'll be addressing a couple questions that I get fairly often. I don't know if you guys get these questions, but I'm sure you have something to weigh in on them. So with me today are some, I don't know, I guess they're okay, Mike Attrell and Nick Maddox. You guys accused me last time of saying that everybody was extra special, so today you're not special.
You're both run-of-the-mill. Deal with it.
So yeah, it's a pretty full schedule. I don't know where you guys want to start. We have there's a lot of news. Like, I wanted this to be sort of a news-based episode to go over what we had talked about.
I'd like to start by saying it's a lazy Sunday. I woke up in the late afternoon and called the Attrells just to see how they're doing.
that too. It's a good naming motivation for this episode.
Yeah.
Good.
So Nick, first of all, did you look into anything that happened at Google I/O this week?
No.
No? Well, then this is
the
all.
The extent of my looking into it was asking you.
This is going to be totally new to you and very interesting.
You can watch my real-time reactions.
Why don't you start us off with a recap, maybe?
Well, yeah, we'll recap and we'll go point by point and see if we saw it coming and what we had predicted would happen. Do you want to go in order of what they announced?
Sure.
Okay. So I guess we'll go with the big points. So the first thing that I remember them announcing was Android One, which is the low-cost, about $100 phone platform for developing countries. Basically making sure that anyone that has Android hardware and Android software on their phone is getting a good experience, even if it's just a $100 off-contract phone.
That's also known as the Samsung business model, with their millions of low-end phones that are $100 each. But
yeah, although these are supposed to be technically better because reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're trying to make the software better, the work better with lower cost hardware. Which
on that,
really good thing.
Yeah. On that note, I remember reading a couple articles that Facebook's strategy right now is to optimize their app and their services for the developing countries that are often don't even have smartphones. They just have the regular flip phones or feature phones that they'll be able to load like a Facebook app onto it, but data is really expensive there.
Yeah,
and the hardware and the software isn't even up to. I'm sorry?
And it's really slow as well, the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's Google's initiative of releasing their Project Loon balloons up into the stratosphere, or however high up they're going, and making internet available to, again, the developing countries that don't have the infrastructure for a data network.
Yeah. And again, that's a pretty sweet initiative.
Yeah.
So yeah, the tagline for that initiative is put an Android in the hands of 6 billion people.
My mom's here, guys. Pleasure talking to you.
Special guest.
Take care of yourselves.
Good timing, we will.
Bye now.
See you, Nick.
Yeah, he mentioned that his mom was going to come around 1, but I guess she's early. Okay, let's get back to business.
Anyway,
now
we'll continue our recap.
Get that dead weight who didn't pay attention during. So again, this is just an approximate. I forget. What did they do next? It was.
Oh geez, I don't even have the.
I think they talked about the new version of Android next. So this is Android. They've coded it L for now because they're not releasing it. They just did a developer preview, so they're not going to tell us what candy or what.
If there's any actual name at all. People are speculating it might just rename as L.
No, they were talking the Google Plus Help community. They were posting all over during I/O. And they were quizzing people, asking what candy they think people are gonna call it. So I think they're gonna stick with
the dessert theme.
Yeah, I think L is just to tease. Hey, it's gonna be the next letter in the alphabet. It'd be weird if it was just Android L.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be a 4.5 or a 5.0?
I think it should be a 5, but I don't know. It depends, I guess, how much they change.
based on the changes we saw, and I guess that's kind of what you're segueing into, is it doesn't look like a huge overhaul that
Well, visually,
iOS 8 was,
visually it will
or
be
7.
that iOS 7 was,
Well,
because they're changing the whole design language.
I don't know if the experience is going to be that different though. I think
Uh,
there'll be changes. I don't know if it'll be different enough to make it a whole new letter or a whole new number.
I guess so. I've from what I've been reading and seeing mock-ups of, the Gmail is going to be very different. Like, it's going to look different, but
Yeah,
it's also going to work more efficiently. It's still going to be
yeah,
email, obviously, but
yeah. I guess I see that as more of a change in the app itself as opposed to the OS
I guess
user experience. But
there's only so
I
much.
see where you're coming from too.
I
Yeah.
mean, iOS 7 was a visual refresh more than anything else.
Well, that's
So
what I mean. But even just the home screen itself was quite different.
the icons
iPhone.
were,
Yeah.
but
But
that's all.
that's all you really like notice really on the home screen. And they had the parallax thing too. That was kind of cool.
Yeah,
So anyway,
I think we're in agreement on that.
yeah.
Even though it doesn't sound like it. So yeah, but it does look really cool. The new visual look that they're going for is called material design, trying to give things depth and make it really easy for developers to add layers to their apps while keeping it looking consistent with the native apps,
Hmm.
which is always useful. It's nice to not feel like you're being jarringly pulled out of one thing and popped into another. It's nice to have a transition.
Yep.
So yeah, and at that point, now that once they got through the Android L, they basically just started saying, we have Android for this, and Android for that, and Android for this,
Yeah.
and I think up next they did Android Wear, which is the smartwatch or the smart
The wearables interface.
wearable interface. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty excited about that to see a bit more in depth on what they're anticipating for that. Unfortunately, we hadn't seen the Moto 360 available yet.
All right.
They're
Well,
saying later this year, but
I think that's a good thing, because if they rush out version 1, people are going to buy it and be disappointed, just like people always are with the first version of a product. But the fact that they didn't release it yet, but they set a date and they gave it to developers, means
Mhm.
that developers are going to give feedback, and we might almost get to a version 1.5 or version 2 by the time it is released, and there'll already be apps for it. So
Mhm.
I think it's a good move on their part to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and Samsung's and LG has both already had their wearables available, and so I guess they were kind of first to market, and Moto 360 will hopefully improve upon the shortcomings of those ones.
Yeah. Well, I think Samsung during the I/O released like their 5th generation smartwatch, or at least their
Well, that's
5th.
what I mean. That Samsung's been at this for relatively a long time compared to everyone else, so they're I think that's part of their strategy as well, is just being kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, like with their lower end phones. And you have a billion different Samsung phones that run gingerbread still,
Yeah.
or ice cream sandwich. So, but people still use them. But yeah, so
Well, yeah, they were saying that with the new Android Wear devices, only about 25% of current Android phones in use will have access to it, because it requires a certain version,
mhm.
which is kind of unfortunate, but it's sort of the side you're on when you go with Android, that
Yeah.
you're going to lose compatibility pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They're working on it, they really are, but it's still 25% is a huge step up from a couple of years ago when it would have been maybe 5%.
Yeah. Well, and it's better than Samsung when they released their first, I think it was the Gear smartwatch,
Yeah.
and it only worked with the Note. Like
Yeah.
one phone.
So-
Like not even just Samsung phones, it was like one phone.
Yeah.
And it's,
One
okay,
variant
like,
of one phone, and
yeah.
it's less than 1% of their total.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is Android on your body. Next up, I think they went to Android Auto, which is in Android in your car.
Hmm.
So this is similar to CarPlay from Apple. So basically, and although this one I think is slightly better implemented, maybe except in one instance with music, but so basically when you're bringing the phone into your car, it'll connect to the car's dashboard, and it'll pop up the user interface, and you can navigate your maps and make phone calls and send text messages, anything Google Search or Google Now can do. And again, I like this, I really do, but the fact that only new cars are going to be able to get it and only cars that are specifically supported are going to get it mean that it might be difficult to find a car with this soon.
Yeah.
It might take 6 months to a couple of years to actually sort of get market permeation in new cars, because cars last so long. People aren't upgrading their cars every 2 years like they are their phones.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it, like they announced the automakers that have signed on as a pseudo commitment, unofficial commitment, maybe official commitment, I don't know, to release vehicles, a vehicle or one or more vehicles that integrate Android Auto into their hardware or their build, I guess. But the way I see it, like I don't believe an automaker needs to be signed on to that initiative in order to integrate Android Auto into their vehicle per se. And then I was looking for Toyota because Toyota's a pretty big manufacturer and they weren't on there. But then I saw that there's actually a news release that they were actually signing on to the Android Auto. I don't know if it was like, oh crap, we forgot to do this, and then they signed on afterward after they saw who else was doing it. But
so. From what I was reading, they were talking about a total of 26 manufacturers, and something like half had committed to doing CarPlay, and 3/4 had committed to doing Android Auto. So there's some that overlap. There was like 6 manufacturers that were going to do both.
Yeah.
Some were going to do just one. Some were going to do just the other. Some hadn't signed on for anything.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, but it's definitely only the new cars that are going to support it.
Yeah.
Like this year's model is coming out and after, so it'll take a while for this to actually become common.
Yeah. And I would still like to think that you'll see an aftermarket retrofitting capability for Android Auto. I don't. It's not like it's a part of the engine block or anything, right? You can just people change out stereos, they add security systems, they do all those kinds of things. So I don't see why Android Auto couldn't be the same.
But the only problem I see with that, because Android Auto will give you benefits, certainly in addition to having a smartphone in the car, but 99.86% of people are going to just mount their phones on their dashboard if they want a touchscreen in their car. Like they're not going to pay any more to have an embedded touchscreen with Android Auto. They're probably just gonna, like, I would if it wasn't super expensive, but I'm in a very small minority.
Yeah. Well, when people buy a car from a dealership, they're already dropping like upwards of $20,000 on a car. So to add a $1,000 add-on of a GPS stereo touchscreen interface is like, oh sure, why not, right? It's kind of like you're already dropping that money on it, so let's add it on.
You know what is simultaneously great and sad about that? $1,000 is way too much for that, but it will be how much it costs.
I'm just thinking about how much car dealerships charge for that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but
maybe it's not $1,000, maybe it's $500 or $600 or whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm sure it will be around $1,000 to add it.
Yeah.
It's like that's an iPad's only $500, and you're gonna charge.
You're adding on a low-end tablet to the front of your car.
Hopefully not that low end.
Hopefully not that low end, but I can imagine that it's not going to be an iPad.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing the first CarPlay versions that came out for Apple's interface were still capacitive touchscreens, the ones where you had to actually press to register, and it's just like, man, that is 8-year-old technology now. Yeah, cars have always been behind, and they might always be behind.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting, actually. That's other than maybe this one. This is probably the most interesting, like looking well into the future, not just right now. But so the next one they did was Android TV, which sort of builds on the Chromecast idea of having just a version of Android that can run internet content connected to your TV.
Yeah. Well, it's a resurrection of their previous Google TV.
They had next Q, was it? The little orb?
Oh, the Q. Yeah, no, that was its own thing. Then they had something before that. It was an actual Google TV box.
They had Google TV. They've gone through 4 or 5 different.
Yeah, the Nexus Q actually looked promising, but people just didn't buy into it.
Yeah. So this is, you can get a box that will support Android TV. There are TV manufacturers that are signing on to put Android TV into the box built in, which is nice. And so Chromecast is getting some of the features of Android TV as well.
Right. Well, it's more like
whatever it can do.
Yeah, that's what it's more like Android TV will do whatever Chromecast does. That's kind of plus whatever extra stuff they. Yeah. Like I think in our Smart TV episode we talked a bit about what Smart TVs offer, and I think with Android TV you're just going to see a Smart TV with a universal, or a unified Android experience that integrates well with your phone, as opposed to the LG Smart TV will integrate with an LG phone, or your Samsung Smart TV integrates with a Samsung phone. You'll have your Android TV that will integrate with your Android phone regardless of manufacturer.
Yeah. The cool thing that I saw about that is there's no, any levels of friction between two interfaces are going to make it harder for people to share stuff between them. And so with the update to the Chromecast, you won't need to be on the same wireless network, which is fantastic because having to log in and do that is just a hassle, especially if you're at someone's house visiting. You just want to put a YouTube video up. You don't have to worry about being on the network. And they're actually going to use ultrasonic noise, like sound pulses, to pair the TV with the phone, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
That's
well, it's funny because it's not unheard of technology to use pulse matching to sync or pair devices. Like, it's funny, now that I think about it, in drilling you do the same thing when you communicate with your directional tools down in the hole. You're 1,000 meters underground, and in order to confirm that you're still communicating, it sends a pulse up, and then if it matches the expected pulse, then yep, we're all good. So it's kind of the same thing with this. It's like, oh, this Chromecast is looking for this type of pulse, and then if you send out that same pulse, then it's like, yep, we're all good, kind of thing. And then he even said that if it can't sense the pulse, there's just a confirmation code that you can punch in to match and pair yourself. So
well, in our cell phone technology 10 years ago with the Edge network, you could pair your speakers with your cell phone. If your phone was trying to get reception, it would send out a little pulse, and your speakers would buzz, and then you would know that your phone was nearby. Remember that?
I was never familiar with that. Did you have that?
No, anyone who's had a phone on Edge near a set of speakers will know that. Every once in a while it'll just start buzzing.
So an accidental alert system, right?
Accidental pairing. Oh, I'm getting a text message.
Was that only on the Edge network that it does that? Okay.
My phone did it yesterday. That's why I'm reminded of it. Because it dropped down onto Edge, and I was like, all of a sudden my speaker started going crazy. So yeah, that was the Chrome. Well, the Chromecast is now, they're updating it. I don't know if I guess it hasn't happened already, but they're updating it to do screen mirroring as well.
Yeah, and they qualify that with their, I can't remember what specifically they're doing to it, but they're going to try to improve the latency issues with it, because when I mirror my Chrome tab from my computer to the Chromecast, there's quite a bit of delay between what's on the computer and what's on the TV. Like, the audio and video sync up on the TV, but the computer itself is further ahead than what's shown on the TV because there's that time to actually transfer the data over the Wi-Fi network. So they're going to do something to improve that latency, I guess.
Right. Well, they're doing a lot of work with something called WebRTC, which is real-time communication, RTC.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
And yeah, so they're basically trying to reduce latency across networks and make things quicker without needing to resort to plugins. Live. Film buffs will note that as foreshadowing.
And the other thing too, I don't know if you're gonna bring it up, but they mentioned the gaming capabilities with Android TV.
I wasn't gonna bring that up on purpose. I don't.
So So and they actually demoed. What's that?
Were they talking about controllers, like using your phone as a controller, or was it just gaming?
Well, they mentioned that you can use Android, games developed for Android TV, and ideally you'll have some sort of cross compatibility with current games. But the games that you can play on the TV, you'll have a dedicated controller. Like they're using a dedicated controller for it, and everyone's like, "Whoa, what's this controller they're using?" And then they showed a guy, I don't know if it was a phone or a tablet or whatever, but he was playing the same game on that, and the TV was mirroring what was happening in that game. So they're essentially playing the game together, one on a tablet, one on a controller, on the TV, and it was pretty cool. And I think, again, we've mentioned that in previous episodes, saying how that would be ideal, is that you wouldn't have to worry about having a certain controller or whatever. You just load it up on your phone or your tablet or whatever, and you can go.
Yeah. One of the cool things about Google is that they have so many different, like their platform is available so many places. Every once in a while, every month or so, they'll release a new Chrome experiment. And the latest one had to do with soccer, and there was a couple different games you could play where I think you are a soccer ball and you have to around, but it'll let you play it on Chrome on your computer, and if you are on your phone, it'll pair it up, and you can use your phone as a controller, even on the web, which is pretty amazing.
I tried that soccer game on my phone and it didn't work at all. I don't know if it was because I was using the beta version of Chrome on my phone or what, but it just wasn't.
I've had experience with a couple of those. There was a game you could play that was similar to Pong, but with obstacles, and you would play while you were facing. So, like, I've actually played with Nick once. So you basically start a hangout with a person, and it'll bring you into this game, and you'll be playing Pong against one another. It's like face to face, like it's in 3D. All bounces around. I don't know if you ever played that. I forget what it's called.
I've played it before. This is an old game on Windows 95 or 2000.
No, but
this new one? Oh no, I never played the Hangouts one. No.
It was cool.
Okay. And it worked or it didn't work?
No, it worked really well.
Oh, okay.
Play against them, and like you're always trying to get the ball to hit but it's literally their picture, and so when you hit it, the picture falls apart, like crumbles down, and it was fun. The levels got harder and harder, and so I guess the last big announcement, other than a bunch of developer tools that Google announced, was Android Fit, which it's hard to say if it was a direct response to what Apple did or the rumors that Apple was going to announce their Health Kit platform. But it's out there now, and so both Apple and Google also have a health platform where it'll supposedly go with if you have your Nike devices or your Fitbit or all these different monitoring devices for blood pressure or heart rate, weight, height, all that good stuff. Both of the platforms are going to have a place at some point, probably in the fall, with this new release of both operating systems, where you will have this one spot you can find all this stuff and hopefully contact a physician if you have a problem.
Yeah. It's just funny, like a while ago, I had mentioned that I was looking for a fitness tracker or fitness band kind of thing, and I just didn't find anything that integrated with Android very well. And I was looking into the Nike Plus Fuel Band, and I was like, oh, I can't believe they don't have an Android app, and it doesn't work with Android. And then a couple months ago, they're like, oh, we're making it available for Android. And it's like, A, why are you so late? And B, I remember reading an article saying that they were downsizing the Nike Plus group or whatever just because they weren't getting the traction that they thought they were. It's like, well, you limited yourself right off the bat by not going with Android, so I don't know why. So I guess now they're doing this with, integrates the Nike Plus and all that kind of stuff.
They mentioned specifically that it was Nike Fuel Band was going to work with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess we can go to the one thing that I want to mention that I thought was pretty cool. Is this wasn't, I think, directly at Google I/O, but it was at sort of a side, like a satellite event for YouTube, that they were talking about the creation of, first of all, a specific app that I think is out for Android for YouTube creators, like filmmakers, that'll let you check out the stats on your videos for multiple channels, and there'll also be a system that will allow you to donate money to the video maker. Basically, the only way to make money on YouTube is to either put ads on your videos or to have a store somewhere else that sells merchandise or whatever.
Yeah.
or to collect donations on a separate site.
Yeah.
So basically what they're doing is letting people donate to the video creators directly through YouTube. Which I think is just, I mean, that's pretty nice. I've been making videos for a few months now, and I know that's gonna help me out to just be able to be like, hey, if you feel like supporting me, here's how you can do it, and it's really easy.
Yeah, it's the same way that, I feel it's worth buying apps. And, it's like, there's guys that are working out there who do this for a living. Even if it's not for a living, they're doing it because they enjoy doing it, and it's something they enjoy doing. And it's like, well, if I'm benefiting from it, then why not throw them a couple bucks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's a line there, but at a certain point, you know that this is costing them money to do, but they love doing it.
Yeah.
It's not like they're just making money off of nothing.
Yeah.
They're spending money, and you're helping to support them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you bring up making money off videos, I remember reading an article about a couple Vine creators, and they had this whole like romance thing going on, and they got a couple million followers each, whatever, and brands actually go to them to plug their products, and they get like really good money for it.
Yeah.
And because you're reaching millions of people in like a 15-second, or how long is a Vine? 8 seconds? I don't remember. Yeah. And it's like that's another way to get it. I guess it's a form of sponsorship in a way, but I don't know how often YouTube creators get that, but
well, they have sponsors. Like you see, similar to podcasts, you see people at the end of their video, they'll either say, "Donate to my campaign on Subbable," or this sponsored by Audible does a lot of sponsorships of both podcasts and YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So there are definitely ways, but this is sort of more direct. It's not go to this other place. It's just like there's a button right here, and it's it's me because it's on my video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can quickly go through. I moved the list of predictions we made over, and we can just go through one at a time and see how good we were, or if our predictions are still yet to be determined. So first up, Android Silver wasn't announced. They said that it will not, Nexus will not disappear, but Silver is still.
They said Nexus hardware wouldn't disappear. They didn't say Nexus phones.
Well, if you want to split apples and oranges like that, that's not a saying, but. So you maintain that you're right.
I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying that I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. Because, anyways, so that yet to be decided anyways. It hasn't gone either way.
Yeah.
In the fall is when we'll see for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Google Voice integration for Hangouts didn't happen at I/O. No. Nothing to do with the social network Google Plus happened at I/O. Nothing with Hangouts happened at I/O. So that's still undecided because they will eventually, like this summer, they're going to have an event for Google Plus. They are.
Oh, really? Okay.
They've had one every summer since it came out, and it's the 3rd anniversary. They're going to do something. They'll either talk about updates to Photos, Hangouts. So Google Voice still in the maybe pile, but definitely didn't happen. Wearables, Wear Platform, we pretty much nailed that one. I mean, it was almost a sure thing, but we got that one down. Yeah. They announced the Wear Platform and more updates to it, and they at least set a release time frame for the Moto 360.
Yeah, but we have yet to see a Google branded watch. That's still technically a Motorola watch.
But Motorola is owned by Google.
Right. But it's still
watch?
Just a Google watch.
Okay. Well, I don't know if we're ever going to get that, but
I think they did an interview with a Google. I don't know if it was like Pinchai himself, but they were asking about a Google Watch, and they said, "Oh no, we're not looking to make a Google branded watch yet." But.
Yeah. So maybe. Yeah. But so we were talking mostly about the Wear Platform and the watches actually getting announced formally and having released. So we were right on that one. Google Stars, the bookmarking platform, again. Still in beta, still works. I'm still using it.
Is it officially beta, or is it like a
no,
side-loaded?
It's
type
a
thing.
dog fooding
Okay.
beta that, like, it's a version for the Google employees.
Okay.
But it works fine, and I'm sure again they're going to announce it. They're saving it for, not saving it, but they're still working on it. And yeah, so when this new like a Gmail refresh is coming, we've all seen like you've seen mock-ups of it. So they're probably either they're doing separate events for all of them, or they're going to bundle it all into one big thing in the fall or possibly the summer, but hasn't happened yet. It's still beta. This one is yours, Google Play Music desktop client. You're really hoping for that one. I don't know if it's coming. We might get an official Chrome extension or a Chrome application.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, it's just web app. New design language, yes. That did happen, Material Design. Google Plus rebranded to Google Identity. They didn't talk about Google Plus that much at I/O. They mentioned it, but they didn't talk about any updates to it. So really, that one's still in the maybe pile. We'll see what happens with the name of Google Plus or its specific functions. Tools for Google Plus Pages / YouTube. So basically, when you make a YouTube account now, you automatically get a Google Plus page. And so that, to me, I mean, they also announced a new app. I don't think it was part of I/O, but it was in the last week for Google Plus pages. So right now, when you go into the Google Plus mobile app, you see your account, and you can log out of your account and log back in, and you'll have a choice of all the pages that you manage.
Well, you can just dynamically switch between them. At least with the Android one, you can.
Oh, the Android one, but the iOS one you can't.
Oh, okay.
You have to sign out and then sign back in.
Oh, that's kind of annoying.
But so now there's an iOS app called Google Plus My Business, and so it's just your pages, and it does let you switch between just the pages, and so they're totally separate. And it's still really new, so it's not perfect, but it's something at least.
Mm-hmm.
So that there were new tools for Google Plus pages and for YouTubers, and they're overhauling a little bit the look of YouTube for video makers. They're calling it Creator Studio, and so they sort of streamlined the ability to switch between the YouTube channels you own, which is nice. Updates to Hangouts. We'll talk about this a little bit later. There was nothing announced at I/O, but they did get an update. And finally, SMS routing to Hangouts on other clients, which we did not get.
Oh.
And again, like voice, that's really sad. It might still happen later in the summer. Maybe they're working on it because they saw that Apple announced it. And it's not simple to do, but that would have been a nice thing to announce with Android L. So maybe that's what they're saving it for.
Yeah. Well, you brought up today about.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say you brought up today about integrating the Google Docs or Google Drive chat with Hangouts, and I think that I just got reminded about how when you add a comment to a document, it doesn't notify you unless it emails you.
Unless you
even that's hit and miss because sometimes it won't get notified that you commented on something. So I think if they could integrate the Docs notifications, commenting, and chat into Google Plus and Hangouts, then that would be ideal. So you'd get a notification in Google Plus saying, "Oh, Rob commented on your document."
Yeah, even Gmail could be integrated into that bell. Like if you have a new email, put it in that notification thing. Why keep it all separate?
Yeah.
So again, that's something we'll hope for, and we'll try to get the word out. I've started posting things in Google Plus communities, just like if I want a feature, I'll be like, "Hey, put this in," because I really it would just make it makes so much sense.
Yeah, we have enough profile views and followers now that you can you have a bit of cred in Google Plus.
I'm getting close to 200,000, I think.
Views or followers?
Views.
Oh.
But that's a lot of different channels coming in through there. I also have a lot of images from stuff I have posted places that are through Google Plus. So every time someone looks at a picture that's like hosted on my website,
Oh, it counts as a view?
that's the view.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. Yeah, it is. But it's kind of cheating. So that was it for our major predictions.
I/O coverage, yeah.
And to be honest, we didn't get a lot. We personally, there was a lot announced, and they made plans to put Android literally everywhere. But in terms of the customer-facing wants for the products they already have, we didn't see very much.
Well, yeah, we didn't see upgrades. We saw new releases. We saw the Android Wear. I don't know why we didn't see the Android Auto. Based on the CarPlay, I think we would have thought that we would have anticipated Android responding with that, but I guess we missed that one.
I don't know if we missed it or if it. I don't know. Or if
we just didn't care enough. Yeah.
I mean, they were obviously going to respond with something. They had their self-driving car. If it had a computer interface, it would obviously be Auto.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense all coming together.
Yeah.
So let's move on to news stories, which there's been quite a bit. I talked about the last 3 to 4 months, but most of this happened more recently, like in the last.
This is the last week. Yeah.
And this is some of this is I/O, but also not.
Yeah, some of them are appendages to I/O announcements.
Yeah.
The further releases or announcements.
Yeah. So why don't you start with one?
Okay. I guess from a new product / promotion perspective, they've rolled out an Android or Google Cardboard product that, in essence, you're strapping your phone to your face, and it's apparently not as cheesy as it sounds. People say it works.
I've heard a lot of good. Like, when they first at the very end of the keynote, they were like, "Hey, we have a new product, and it's made of cardboard."
Yeah. So I think you can buy it for like $30 or something, and then there's other companies that are actually no, they handed it out at I/O.
Plans too.
Yeah, and then a company right away came up with, or they got a hold of, or wrote up a printout template for it, and they're selling that for like $20 or $30. So if you want to experience some cost-effective virtual reality, then.
So basically all it does is make a box around your face, around your eyes, and then splits your view in half.
Mm-hmm.
So you see two different things out of your eyes, and it'll. I guess it'll work with your front or your back camera.
Your back camera probably. Yeah. And it's a specific app that you put on, and there's like a game in it, and then there's a couple of different views you can do, and I don't know. It sounds cool, and for the novelty of having that for like $20 or $30, it seems worth it.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Can't go wrong with that, I guess. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of a cool little mini release.
It's definitely simpler and a lot cheaper than, for instance, Oculus Rift.
Yeah. It's making it more accessible to the mass public and saying, hey, this doesn't have to be like a big scary thing that's only for geeks. It can be for anyone who has a phone.
Yeah.
And it could be fun. And if they get people to buy into that, then they might have more success when they release Google Glass more widely, and their Oculus, well, not their Oculus, Facebook's Oculus anyway, it becomes available, and you'll have developers starting to focus on virtual reality a bit more.
Yeah. So, definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah. So what did you find interesting this week?
Well, I mean, you wrote most of these down.
Well, you can pick one. I'm sure you've read most of all of them.
Yeah. But so the one that I did add was that Verizon in the States has taken the somewhat ahead of the game step of adding 7 different streaming music services to a list of things that don't count towards your data cap. So basically you can stream any music you want from, there's a whole bunch of different, I know services. The one big one is iTunes Radio, but 7 different services. If you're streaming, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartMusic, Slacker, Rhapsody, and Milk Music, and Samsung new internet radio service, which I don't even know what that is. Which, I don't know, I'm torn on how to feel about this. Because on one hand, it's good that it's free, but music, you're already, in general, paying for these services. So making it free just makes me think this is either an antitrust violation or sort of against the nature of net neutrality.
Can you explain how it's already free?
What do you mean how it's already free?
Were you saying that you're saying the services are already free? That's what you just said.
No, the services
Right.
themselves cost money
So what are you saying?
that you're double paying. Like
Right, okay, I see what you mean.
the
Yeah.
only way that they can give it to you for free is either by being super generous or by making backdoor deals with the music services. And so I don't know. I'm just skeptical that this is a good thing. I mean, short term it is because you're paying less for music streaming, but I don't know. It's a slippery slope, and if it starts happening with video, video is the one thing that takes up a ton of data.
Mm-hmm.
If you start doing it with stuff like pictures and video, saying like, oh, you can upload as many pictures as you want to your favorite cloud storage service or our cloud storage service, whatever. Like if a company starts doing their own cloud backups, you'll find that people will start picking sides, and then it's just in terms of net neutrality and keeping data open, it's a slippery slope towards a monopoly, I guess, like towards getting locked into a service and not wanting to leave because it's going to cost more to use another service that's exactly the same, which in my mind violates the sort of the core of net neutrality, which is that everything it should be the same. If you want to use iTunes Radio or if you want to use Google Play Music, if one is free on your platform, you're going to use that one. Or if one doesn't count towards your data cap, you're going to use the one that's good.
Yeah, I think the only way you could avoid preferential treatment on that end is if they came up with a method of approving apps that would be exempted from the data cap. So you'd submit to them and say, hey, I want to use Rdio, right? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that qualifies as a music streaming app, that's free. I don't know if that's the intent, is to make, oh, it's music streaming so it's free, or if, like you said, it's like, oh, well, these guys gave us extra money, so here it's free.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to say, like, how are they going to do it? Like, at first the first thing that happened was sort of a lesser bandwidth type of thing when they did social networking was free. So you could surf Facebook and Twitter and use BBM all you wanted for free.
Right.
With their plan, with the one specific plan from the company.
That was prior to smartphones.
During the beginning of smartphones too. But I always wondered.
With Android phones? I think it was mainly BlackBerry and just feature phones that had that type of thing.
iPhone definitely had it for a while.
Okay.
But I always wondered, like, yes, there is a Facebook app for the iPhone, and it would be pretty trivial to make that free. Like use inside that app. But like, what if you are in the Facebook app and you click on a YouTube link and it opens up the little Facebook in-app browser and you're watching a YouTube video on Facebook? Is that free or is that not free?
I remember when they were talking about Facebook making deals with developing countries and the service providers and saying, hey, can you offer our app, use within the app, like you said, for free, or included in the data rate or whatever, because that is something that they do. Yeah. That came up. It's like, okay, well, what if you want to see content like that, they go from the app into that? And unfortunately, I can't remember exactly the explanation for that, but that was an issue that was brought up. I'd think it'd be the kind of thing where you click on and say, oh, warning, you're leaving your...
Yeah.
Like,
that's not implemented now, and so it's sort of a great, like, I'm like, I don't
think companies even do that now, though.
There are still some that do unlimited social networking.
Really?
Yeah. It did, like, it sort of went out of favor, probably because of things like this. Like, there's so many gray areas. Like, what if you, like that one, for instance, if you're in the app doing something that requires data that's not Facebook, like a YouTube video, which...
Yeah, like an embedded video.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about an embedded video, yeah.
What if you're on the web and you go to facebook.com, is that free? Like, how do you track that? It's just it's a tricky situation. And if you go into with music, like if you go to the Spotify web app on your phone, is streaming that music free? Like if you go to a website and download an MP3, is that free? Like how do they track it?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious exactly the details, and I would be skeptical. I wouldn't want to sign up for that service until I knew what was going to happen with that.
Yeah. I think that type of service would be for people who have a phone and all they want to do is use it to stay in contact with their kids and check Facebook once in a while. But they're not looking to consume content
Yeah,
in that sense.
Yeah, I don't think the plan's meant for me.
No.
At all. Okay, let's move on. Next one.
I found that it was very interesting, and I guess it wasn't an I/O event or an I/O.
I think it was another satellite event.
Yeah, that they released or showed a Project Era modular phone prototype, and they hyped it up to be working and booting and loading the home screen, and it got to the booting part and it crashed after it loaded a fifth of the home screen. So, but people still were excited and they clapped and applauded and
the fact that a modular phone powered on is pretty.
Yeah.
Like it's still buggy.
Yeah, it had quite the process to boot it, and it was very geeky, and I was excited about it because it's not something only like a tech guy could like appreciate. Anyone else would be like, that phone doesn't even work. It's like, no, you're missing the point. Like.
Yeah. Well, okay. For people who don't know what the concept of a modular phone is, or have never heard the word modular, basically it's you'd have like the computer part of your phone would be one chunk of phone, and you'd literally, like, if you wanted a camera, you would clip a camera onto the phone, like you'd plug it in, and if you wanted a microphone, you'd just plug that in. If you wanted extra RAM, you'd plug that in. If you wanted a bigger battery, you'd just all the pieces would pop out and come back in.
And the screen isn't modular. The screen is the screen.
Right.
And then it has the motherboard and all that baked into the device, and then you have that little part reserved for the CPU and whatever. But yeah, everything else like the battery, the camera, the SD slot, whatever is going to be modular and
chip, all the. And so the concept being that if you want a RAM upgrade, you would just swap it out. If you wanted a battery, you just swap it out.
Yeah. If you wanted 2 batteries, you add 2 batteries.
Or if you wanted to have extra charge, if you were going on a trip or something, or a long day or something, you just bring an extra one and you could swap it out.
Yeah. So
it was working, and it was cool because it was like almost like a puzzle phone. Like it's not one piece; it's a bunch of pieces all working together, and it worked.
Yeah.
Although it didn't stay working, but it worked.
Yeah. But it was like ultra prototype. Like they turned it on by having the little the whatchamacallit, the jumper, I guess. And they like just and it like just booted on. It wasn't like you click the button, it's like you just and it was like
wires together to start it.
It was one of the more like techie things I've seen Google do. Like it wasn't like hyped up and like
done.
Yeah, it was like it was for like tech guys.
Yeah.
And that's why they all still like loved the presentation, because it was like exciting.
Yeah.
And then on that same note, they I don't know if it was part of the same announcement.
Yeah, it was.
But they talked about the 3D printing that they were looking into for the Era modules, and that they were investing in the production of technology for 3D printing, and on optimizing the space that the dedicated phone part takes up in order to leave more room for the add-on modules.
Yeah. Another cool thing that I saw them talking about with 3D printing in the Era was having a little hard shell case that would basically envelop all your modules in one consistent piece.
Yeah. I think I like the modular look though. Like some of the mock-ups they've done
like shatters into a million pieces.
Some of the mock-ups they've done though with like the skins on the back, like I don't know, it looks cool. Like they're mock-ups and you're not going to have necessarily a uniform look. But across all the different modules, if you get third-party or aftermarket modules, but I think the modular look is part of the novelty of having it. Like I don't know, that's part of the appeal to me.
It's the same reason, like when people build their own desktop computers, they have windows in them, so you key in and see how cool it looks. So it's the
Yeah.
same idea.
Well, and you have lights on the inside and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's like it's part of the novelty of having it. Like why go through like buying a modular phone if you're going to hide the modular part of it? Like
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
a clear case. I'd be on board with a clear case that still
That'd be
shows the
cool.
modules. Yeah.
When I had my iPhone 4S, I bought from iFixit.com. They had a clear iPhone back,
Yeah.
and so I screwed my original one out and put it
It's
in.
the same thing with this, that there's like a case, but you can still see the Nexus, like the glass part on the back. So it's like there's a case on it.
No. But this
Like
wasn't the
back.
case. This was the back panel of the phone. I
Oh,
took
really?
the back panel, put the clear so you could see the electronics through.
Did I ever see that?
I don't know.
I don't think I ever saw that. That's cool.
It was really cool. And then I
Yeah.
got a background, a wallpaper that was what the front internals of the phone looked like.
Oh, sweet.
That was good times. I still have the thing, but now the phone's been upgraded, so
Yeah.
it's not as easy. It's not like a one pop thing to get the back panel off anymore.
Right.
So yeah, we talked about. I guess I want to mention the fact that Google Hangouts on Chrome at least doesn't require a plugin anymore, which is, I mean, that's again removing friction from people accessing services is good. Before, when you first got Google Chrome, you wanted to call someone, you'd open the thing and it would say, "Do you want to install this?" And you'd go, "Yes, I want to install it." And then you'd wait, and then it would install, and then I don't think you had to restart your computer, but it was just like it took a couple minutes. So now with the newest version of Chrome, right now it's just the developer version, the beta. You don't need the plugin anymore. So they've built the technology to. All it needs is access. You basically click allow to give it access to your microphone and camera, and then it'll just open the video chat.
Yeah. I have a feeling, because I just, again, thought of it now, that part of the benefit of that is for businesses, and when you're trying to have a video conference with a customer or colleague or whatever, a lot of companies will have barriers for installing anything.
Yeah.
So if you remove that requirement to install, that makes it a lot easier. Just send a Hangout link and say, this is the link for the video chat, and it runs. You don't have to call your IT guy to set up your computer to allow to install the plugin and all that kind of stuff. You just boot it and go, or put the link in. So
yeah, it's wonderful. I'm really happy that they did that. Like, it was something they've been working towards for a long time. And again, this is using WebRTC, but it's a really good update.
Yeah. Something, I guess, moving away from hardware or software, there's more along net neutrality or privacy, I guess. There is a recent ruling. I didn't even know it was an issue until I read that it was a ruling, that they've ruled that the NSA or just the authorities are not allowed to just search your phone without a warrant or whatever. If they seize your phone due to whatever reason, that same allowance for the seizure cannot allow them to actually look in the phone.
Right.
The old rules, the old rules said that they could with the the flip phones and the feature phones and that kind of thing. But with the development of phones and technology, there's so much more that you can access through a phone than you could back when it didn't do anything really except have like contact lists maybe and recent calls. They're saying, well, no, that's a separate thing. You got to get your own warrant and your own ruling for that. So I guess that makes people feel better. But again, I don't really care because I don't have anything to hide, and if I get my phone seized, it's probably for a good reason. So.
Well, yeah, it's the important step in computing where they're now saying that a smartphone is closer to a computer than it is to a phone. So, like, you have enough stuff on there that's private that computers are protected. Phones have the same amount of stuff. They should be protected under the same law.
Yeah. But that being said, it's not like the government doesn't already have access, if they wanted to anything that we've put on the phone.
If it's on the internet. I don't think they can hack into your phone, but if you...
No. But what isn't on the internet now? When you get a phone, you're integrating with Google. Like, there was even a thing where they've disclosed that Google at first would save your Wi-Fi password on their servers, and so now they're saying, hey, do you still want this? Because they're like, oh, I guess maybe that's not a good thing. to just be doing it without telling people.
Yeah. Well,
But
the thing with when their Street View vans were going down, they were collecting people's Wi-Fi.
yeah, their logins and stuff.
Not
Yeah.
not necessarily the
Or is the addresses?
just the MAC addresses and
Yeah.
the network names.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of like maybe it just makes people feel better, but
Yeah.
in reality,
They might have even not been doing it on purpose. Like, I don't know what
No.
you would benefit from doing that.
no. It was more for, I think, the location, like confirmation of the location of the address that they're trying to take a picture of, and in that process, just as a byproduct, they were just capturing that information. But yeah, it wasn't like, oh, let's harvest all these addresses.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So-
that was interesting too.
Yeah. So earlier this week, this is just I don't know, companies do things like this all the time, and it kind of makes me laugh. Basically, Microsoft is saying if you bring a MacBook Air into one of their stores, it could be eligible, like the new MacBook Air, it could be eligible for up to $650 in credit if you trade it in for one of their new Surface Pro 3. And I don't know, like it's at least an $800 or $900 laptop.
Brand new.
They're trying to, well, yeah, exactly. So they're basically saying if you've had this MacBook for 6 months and you want to try a Surface, we'll make it only cost you $250, $300 to switch.
I think it was 150. I think they give up to like $600 and some credit,
50, but
depending on the condition of your.
base model of the MacBook Air, the 11 inches, $899 in the US.
hmm But the credit they'll give you for the MacBook towards the Surface Pro, I think, is like $650.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
leaves $250 plus tax.
Is it 250? I don't know. I read 150. Maybe it's 250.
I think I read 150 as well, but then I did the
Yeah.
math.
Okay. Either way, you get a discount on your.
Either way,
Your Surface.
I'm not going to do it, but I'm tempted.
Yeah. It's interesting what Microsoft's strategy has been. It's kind of like it's been like a hey, we're here too kind of thing.
It sounds like they're trying to hoard MacBook Airs. They want all the Airs for themselves.
To steal their technology.
Yeah.
I also read an article this morning, and I don't know if it was just this morning that they released. I think they've been talking about it for a bit, but Microsoft's announced leaked a SmartWatch release
I saw that too.
for October. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah.
I guess they may beat Apple to the punch to that one too. So
Yeah.
unless Apple just mysteriously releases one not during WWDC, then we're going to see a Microsoft smartwatch before an Apple one.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't know if I'd like to think they're doing it, but it's hard to say. You never know with Apple.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Nexus hardware sticking around. Do you want to do one more news story?
Sure. One that I found interesting, and I guess is along the developers' news, that the Nest product that Google now owns, they're integrating or announcing a developers program and a certification system for devices and apps to work with Nest products. So kind of going along the same lines of their Android Everywhere home automation type thing. They're trying to make it more accessible to everyone that has, washer and dryer or fridge or home security or whatever, that it integrates with the Nest product. So it's like, oh, cool, I didn't know that it worked with that. So then it kind of gets that market right away there. So, and then from a developer perspective, that they can certify their apps and products with works with Nest for those that would want to integrate it. So I think that's a good step forward for that. And yeah, I think it can only do well for Nest as they offer more products and services.
Yeah. I mean, Nest has had their sort of slowdowns. They were having issues where I think the carbon monoxide detector would just like either go off for no reason or stop detecting carbon monoxide. So they recalled some and like pushed out firmware updates. But yeah, so they've had some issues. So it's good to see that they're getting their act together and trying to unify stuff. I mean, I'm sure this is somewhat in response to Google or Apple announcing their HomeKit, their home automation. So I guess they're either trying to make Nest, the thermostat, work as sort of a central hub for your home, which makes sense, or they're planning on releasing a standalone like thing, like another Nest product that would do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah.
The nice thing about the Nest product, like just the Nest thermostat, is that it's literally just a circle with, like, that you can put electronic words on. So the possibilities are pretty unlimited in terms of what you can do.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just the thermostat either that they offer. They have I think they have an alarm, fire smoke detector, carbon monoxide, and I don't think they don't have a security system unit yet. But security systems that have smart capabilities do integrate with Nest.
Yeah.
That you can control your thermostat from the security system. So yeah, we'll see what they come up with. Like, they had those products before and Google bought them, so I can only imagine that Google will encourage them to make more and more services for people to use.
Well, the other big news out of that product or that world, 2 days ago, or I guess earlier this week, Nest bought Dropcam, which is a wireless camera streaming
monitoring.
Server. Yeah. So they're trying to do
home security. Yeah.
So I guess I think that's a good place to stop. We've been a little over an hour now. So yeah, that being said, we'll wrap it up. I want to say a special thanks to our new Twitter followers. Hopefully you guys get out and watch and enjoy this episode. Yeah, I've never plugged this show on this show. I feel so weird doing it. But it is.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. You can subscribe and
we're on iTunes.
On iTunes, where there's a website. There's Twitter. There's Facebook. Go nuts.
Google Plus, of course.
Of course. Google. I mean, you don't even have to direct people to Google Plus because YouTube syncs. Like, if I put stuff on YouTube, it puts it there. I don't know. Yeah. Google Plus, yeah, that's my home, but it doesn't necessarily have to be yours.
We'll come to you.
Exactly.
Wherever you are.
All right. Well, I will talk to you next week. We'll do another future side chat.
We will.
I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll make sure it's interesting.
It'll be something cool.
Try not to make people feel bad about how horrible they're being with relation to climate change, but who knows?
Well, we'll take a balanced perspective and take issues as they come up, and feel free to address us with questions about free energy or conspiracy theories or whatever, and we'll chat about it. And we may not agree with you, but that's what science is all about.
Science is all about disagreement in the face of fact.
Not disagreement, critical thinking and analysis.
Yes, of course. We're famous for our critical analysis.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.